I don't think that there's anybody under 40 years old who isn't multi-addicted.
Athletes, entrepreneurs, and those who've embraced the necessary change for the better. They've endured, discovered, rebuilt. But what about you? Are you waiting for life? Or is life waiting for you? This is the Come Up.
What's up, everybody? This is Octavio here with the Come Up, and today we have one of my personal heroes here, Mr. Tony Allerton. Thanks for coming, Tony.
I'm delighted to be here.
So for anybody nationwide, Tony is one of the, I consider him one of the pillars of the recovery community here in Delray and Boca. You're the founder of the Crossroads Club.
I'm a founding member.
Founding member of the Crossroads Club.
Right.
Also, how many years sober now?
37.
37 years sober. Completely and utterly sober. So that just gives me goosebumps, right?
And the wonderful thing is that I've been able to celebrate all 37 years at Crossroads.
That's
at TGIF, the meeting that we met at.
10 years ago, yeah. You've seen my whole journey here in Delray, and it's your heart for this community. Not only you've shown it personally to me, but to everyone around. I don't think, for me, Crossroads was a huge part of my first round of recovery. Mm-hmm. You basically held my hand, gave me goals. Then you got me to the LSIS program, right? Which we'll talk about, what all the other programs that Crossroads helps to run.
Right.
But you inspired me, and that's why I'm really happy that I get you on the show today. So I want people to know the story of Tony Allerton, because I know I've heard it 50 times and I almost cry every single time. So I just want people to hear it. I think people need to understand what kind of man Tony Allerton is. So take it away.
Well, I'm so old now. I don't think we have enough time.
So tell them, all right, so how many years young are you now?
Well, let's put it this way. I was born on the 23rd of September of 1928. So if I'm still alive next month, I'll have 90. I will have been on this planet for 91 years.
That's amazing.
So, and I finally got sober when I was 53, pushing 54. And no, I haven't had a drop of alcohol in this body since the 10th of May of 1982.
That's amazing. Well, let's talk about that journey. What did that feel like? So we were talking earlier about your journey, about a lot of people in recovery, more than one chip. It's a thing. It doesn't have to be. I know that for a fact.
I would guess that when they do the countdown, probably one person in 20 or 30 has only got one white chip. The vast majority have more than one white chip, I would say.
I know I do.
And this is based on my experience at Crossroads.
Right.
Because I've asked the question, when I chair the TGIF meeting, every once in a while I'll say, everybody with more than one white chip, raise your hand. Mm-hmm. And if there are 30 people in the room, 20 of them will raise their hands. So, but now it's interesting also that I don't think that, and I'll ask you the question, I don't think that there's anybody under 40 years old who isn't multi-addicted. There are no more pure alcoholics, I know that.
It's a rare find.
Right?
Right.
Because, I wouldn't know a crystal meth if it were sitting in my lap. And I've never popped a pill, and I've never stuck a needle in my arm. my switching my addiction switching was from Budweiser to Scotch.
Trying to find a solution to it.
That I realized that Scotch was going to do the job quicker.
Right.
And I never drank for taste. I mean, these wine tasting parties, I think that's a bunch of crap. The old expression about a slip is an honest desire to get drunk.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I never drank for taste. I just drank for effect. I just didn't want to be who I was, where I was, why I was.
I just didn't want to feel.
I just didn't want to feel. And I knew that enough fire water in this system, and Katie bar the door. So, and growing up in a household in which there were two alcoholics, I was an only child. My father was a daily drinker, and my mother was periodic. I never saw my father drunk, but he drank his martinis every afternoon.
Right.
But and in those days, the parents all drank and smoked and partied.
Right.
And so after a party, I remember my father bringing my mother home and helping her up the stairs, and I was a kid, and I'd say, "What's wrong with mother?" And he'd say, she's got a bad case of the flu or whatever. I mean, never that she'd been
hungover.
Never that she was intoxicated.
Right.
So, but in that family, I mean, my mother was one of 7.
Wow.
And basically, she was the only one who didn't die of alcoholism. She was the 6th of 7, and her 2 older brothers. So there were 2 boys, and then her older sister, and then 2 more boys, then my mother and her kid brother. And I never knew the 2 oldest brothers. The alcohol had killed them before I was old enough to know.
Wow.
So
you're a believer of genetics. You think genetically?
Oh, absolutely.
Predisposed to alcohol.
Well, because it's on my father's side as well. And you know what Father Martin said? Do you remember Father Martin?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when he said, if there's alcoholism on one side of your family and you pick up a drink, your chances of becoming alcoholic are 50-50. He said if there's alcoholism on both sides of your family and you pick up a drink, his expression was, you're a sitting duck for alcoholism. So I had the gene, and I lit the match to the fuel when I was about 13. And so I was alcoholic. I mean, I believe that I was born alcoholic.
Okay, you're a predisposed.
And I drank alcoholically from the time I could get it. And so it was through school. But I like to say that my PhD in alcoholism was when I was in the service.
That's what I want to hear. Let's get to this part. This is the fun part, right?
Because when I joined the Navy, I got out of school in June of '50, just before the Korean War started. So all of us were I was from a little town in Connecticut, and the draft board. So I was headed for a foxhole in Korea.
Right.
And I decided maybe that's not so smart, so I joined the Navy. The difference being that if you went in the Army, you only had to serve 2 years. The Navy minimum was a 4-year hitch. So I joined the Navy, and fortunately I was sent to sea because I've always loved the ocean. And I didn't drink when we were at sea. I never drank, but when we got to port, I'd head for the nearest gin mill, load up, and then party until we had to go back till liberty was over. So and there was a lot of alcoholism in the service.
Thank you for your service. That's huge.
We all in those days. Everybody. It was pretty much if unless you were 4F, you had to serve.
Right.
And I still think that it would be I would love to see every 18-year-old male have to go into the service for a couple of years, which is what they do still in Switzerland.
Yeah, and in the I believe too.
In other parts of the country, in other parts of the
Israel
world.
does a
But
mandatory
a couple of
2 years.
years to go through boot camp or to go through primary training and spend a couple of years with that discipline wouldn't hurt anybody, any young guy. And it might allow them to mature a little more quickly. You know, I mean, well, you know, the kids that come in to Crossroads,
It's just a different generation. They're just different.
They're
So, Tony, let's talk about, so you pick up your first white chip in 52?
My first brush with AA was when I was getting out of the Navy in 54
Okay.
in Boston, Massachusetts. But in those days, there were no chips.
No, it was just
I mean,
old school AA.
and it was in church basements and crusty old guys all smoking with both hands. I mean, it was like the old days at Central House. You couldn't see from me to you for the smoke, right? So, and because I had grown up and I played a lot of sports, my favorite sport was hockey, and in the wintertime back in New England in those days, we had ice from Thanksgiving to Easter. So we were able to skate that whole time. And so I played hockey. I skied a little bit, but
Hockey was your thought.
hockey was my favorite sport. Then I played football in the fall. And I was big enough to be quarterback. And even now you have to be 8 feet tall to be quarterback. But and I played baseball when I wasn't playing golf or tennis in the springtime.
So you were always on site, so you couldn't be around that kind of smoke.
I grew up. I grew up in the country in northwestern Connecticut, and it was be back in time for supper. I mean, there was no supervision. There were, you know, in those days, the parents were worried about you. You know, you go play with your buddies, and you know, and not sound like today.
Right.
You know,
We were always on site, I know that.
I mean, you probably grew up under the same circumstances.
I was outside, always playing.
So I never was a big smoker as a kid, even though my father and my mother smoked. My father smoked these Camel cigarettes.
No filter?
No filter. And actually, he had his first heart attack at about 50.
Wow.
He died at 64, and here I am, 90, still alive. What can I tell you? And it's because of AA.
Right.
Because of AA, I'm still alive. And because of Crossroads, that I'm still alive and talking to you today.
Well, that's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about, so you get your last white chip. What was that passion? What was the idea that became a reality of the Crossroads?
Well,
for those people that don't know, what is Crossroads? Explain what Crossroads is.
Well, Crossroads is a facility that was started back in '82. 3 or 4 fellas wanted to, because Central House had been basically the only game in town, and that was strictly AA. So the idea of Crossroads was to have a facility in which any legitimate 12-step group could meet, not just AA. So ironically, the second group that started asked for space in AA and space at Crossroads was a GA group, and a guy came up from Pompano and said that there were no places down there that wanted Gamblers Anonymous. Would it be okay? And we didn't start an NA meeting at Crossroads for a couple of years, so that it was back in '82. It was still mostly AA. And now today, we're in Crossroads 4, and we have about between 700 and 800 people a day through the doors. And there are, of the 160 odd meetings a week, probably 70 or are AA, and 70 are NA or a derivative, CA. And then the others are Overeaters Anonymous and Gamblers Anonymous, and so any legitimate, if we have space, any legitimate 12-step group can meet at Crossroads. And since we've been in business since '82, because of anonymity, I don't have any hard and fast numbers, but we've had over 7 million through the doors since we've been open. So we've provided a marvelous service for not only Delray Beach, but the community.
And that's why you're here today.
Well, and it's.
So how did it start? So it just sparked up. You wanted to open up.
These guys, and then a friend of mine. I started going to Boca to the beginners meeting, and Lester, a friend of mine that I met, he'd been in the Navy during Korea, so we sort of bonded.
Right.
And he asked me. He said, "Are you gonna go to this new facility that's opening in Crossroads? In Delray." And I said, "Tell me about it." And they were supposed to open over Labor Day weekend in '82. They didn't open until Christmas Eve of '82. And I was at that meeting, and that's when we started TGIF that Friday night. It was the Friday night before Christmas. And Steve K chaired it, and I think he's still alive, lives out in West Boca. And there were probably maybe 15 of us at the meeting, at the first meeting. And out of that, we now have 700 to 800 a day through the doors. So it's been
And it's there's almost a meeting every hour, almost, at Crossroads.
Well, we start, I go to the 7 a.m. meeting every
Which I
morning.
used to go to with you.
And then you go to East Delray Men's on Tuesday night.
And then Sundays.
And then Sunday, the room is packed.
Right. No, Sunday there's 100 strong.
Because I went a couple of weeks ago with George to the Sunday.
East Delray Men's.
And it was the room was packed. A and B were full of.
No, it's still packed, and the 5:30's packed.
And you go on Tuesday night.
Correct.
And it's full.
And I go Sunday morning and it's full.
So and there are people who come from all over the place to come to Crossroads.
Oh, it's a staple. There's two options to go. That there's always a meeting. And if there's not a meeting, there's people outside that are willing to help. Hey, are you okay? There's people that do community service there as well.
Well, we do. We've been. They like to come to community service because if they go to a meeting and then they do service, they get credit for 2 hours.
There you go.
So, it's a good thing. And then a certain number of them, of course, most of them, if they get 50 hours of community service, it's usually because they picked up for a DUI.
Okay.
And of course, every one of them never has a problem. They just had bad luck. The cop picked them up at the wrong time.
Right. Yeah.
But some of them stick around. Some of them stay.
Anybody that needs help is always welcome. Crossroads doors is always open.
We don't turn anybody away unless they're so drunk or so high that they're unmanageable. And then we try to gently escort them out the door and say, show up when you're a little...
Yeah. Or just stay outside, be safe, and whatever you need.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about the rough parts of starting something like Crossroads, right? Because it wasn't easy, and
I think in those days, so the Beachcomber had started, Wayside had started, the Drug Abuse Foundation had started. There were no halfway houses to speak of.
It was a whole other world. Recovery in '82 was a whole other world.
So it was. We didn't in those days. We didn't have to get a permit to start Crossroads. Now, if we tried to start Crossroads in Delray Beach today,
it's impossible.
It would not be possible. It would not be possible. I don't think. Although the climate is changing.
Yeah. I agree.
The Taste of Recovery that we have in June, in which we have it at Old School Square, has been very successful, and the public is invited to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So they for $40 they get to sample
All different restaurants from all over
all
the
the
community.
restaurants, 20 restaurants in the area, and so it's been and good publicity. I mean, we're not all bad people.
No. I think we have some really genuine people that want to help. There's a lot of community leaders that belong to Crossroads.
This luncheon that we're going to have is the mayor is going to be there, and Bill Bathurst, one of the commissioners, is going to be there, and the state attorney Dave Ehrenberg is going to be there, and so it's getting some traction that not only are we not bad people, we're pretty good people, and we're hireable once we get sober.
Right. We want
And
normal lives.
there are a bunch of sober people in Delray Beach. You can't go to a restaurant on Atlantic Avenue and not bump into one guy who
It's
doesn't.
not in recovery.
He'll say, "Don't I see you at Crossroads?" And
That's
I say,
right.
"Don't I see you at Crossroads?" And they're all contributing to the economy,
Right.
and they're sober, and usually the bosses like them because
They're hard workers.
They can say, "Hey, boss, that couple over in that booth, maybe they should be on ginger ale from now on."
Right. I think for me, it's a stable center of what the recovery community stands for, right? We never turn anybody away from help. It's our duty to help anybody that needs it.
Well, and Crossroads, I bounced in and out of the program from basically 1954 to 1982.
I know what that feels like.
And I was from May until we opened in December, till Crossroads opened. I was going to meetings, but I was not all in. I still had some reservations about maybe at my daughter's wedding I should have some champagne or something. So and then at Crossroads started, but also the discipline of having a meeting every day at 5:30. That daily discipline was very good. It's like being in the service. That was very good for me. That was good discipline. And
7 a.m. did wonders for me.
and so I go to 7 a.m. now every morning because I think it's a great way to start the day.
Agreed.
And the people who show up for the 7 a.m. meeting are all serious about their sobriety.
Anybody who wakes up that early to be at a meeting at 7 a.m.
7.
wants to be sober.
So exactly. And I'm not saying that the people who go to the 5:30 meeting in the afternoon aren't serious, but the ones who are 7 a.m. are very serious.
Right. No, I agree. I love the energy at the 7 a.m. I met my first sponsor there. We got to know each other. But there's a lot of things about Crossroads that a lot of people don't know. Like all the programs it runs. It runs a lot of different programs that helps the community. Like, let's talk about the LSIS program.
Well, we're in Crossroads 4 now, and we've been there since '06. We were at Crossroads 1 from the latter part of '82 until '85, and then we moved. So from '85 to '95, we're in Crossroads 2. Then from '95 to we moved to our present building in '06. We were in Crossroads 3. And as you know, that when the basket is passed, that's not enough money to run the place.
Absolutely not.
So at Crossroads 1, the landlord finally came and said, "Listen, I really like you guys, but you got to start paying rent."
It's a business, right? And this is a property.
You
got to pay rent.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I love your purpose, but still, this purpose needs to pay the rent.
Yeah. And
Right, and this is what it's called the come up. There's a lot of nonprofits that don't make it past the first year. They don't make it past the first 6 months.
Right.
right? Because you have to run a nonprofit like a business.
So we were in Crossroads too, and we were struggling financially.
Okay.
And then that's when Huffy showed up. And he loved what he saw, and he had a son in treatment up in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife's best friend said, go to Crossroads and see what your son's going to have to do when he gets out of treatment. So he started coming, and then he brought his wife, and then a couple of weeks later, he raised his hand and he said, you know, I've decided I'm an alcoholic. And we said, tell us about that. He said, every afternoon at 5 o'clock, I have to have my martini. He said, I only have 2, but I have to have it. And then we said, the only requirement is a desire to stop drinking. Do you want to stop your martinis? He said, yes. So he became, and then, of course, he wound up as the chairman of the board of the Huff and Bicycle Company.
Correct.
And he decided that he loved Crossroads. He wanted to help us financially. So he started a foundation. And basically now the property that Crossroads is all owned by the foundation. So, I mean, Huffy died in '94. So he never had the benefit of being able to come
To see it, to the
Crossroads that we come to now.
Right.
But his legacy lives on.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. You help one person, they understand what kind of. I think when my first experience with AA was in Nicaragua, in a garage. It was hot. Chain smoking was going on, right?
Well, how did you happen to wind up at that meeting?
My doctor that my father knew detoxed me and said, hey, I'm an AA, let me take you to a meeting. Right?
And he was your dad's friend.
He was my dad's friend.
And so
He took me to this hot.
Did your dad go with you?
No.
Just his friend, you and his friend?
Yeah. And I came back and I was like, that ain't for me, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. Right?
When was that?
This was in 2006, maybe? So you met me in 2009.
Right. But you had been to school.
I had been to school. I was 27, but I was a 2-time alum at Beachcomber already. By the time I started going to the TGIF, and then I moved up here because Nicaragua was tired of me.
Yeah, but how did you wind up at the Beachcomber?
Somebody that my father knew in Nicaragua had gone to the Beachcomber.
Really?
Yeah, from Nicaragua.
Oh boy, because Jim Bryan started the Beachcomber in about 75 or 70.
Correct. So somebody had gone to the Beachcomber, and then when my dad started asking if anybody had been to rehab in the States, they said yes, send them here. Right? I had no idea.
So you went through there when?
I think in 2007. I was 28, and then I went there again when I was 29.
Okay. But then you'd already been there.
Yeah, LSU, I was there from 96 to 01.
Right.
Right, so I was 28, 29. And then when I moved here, when I met you, I was 30.
Right.
I was living in Chuck's house, in the halfway house.
Right.
And I would stay for the 7 a.m. and then I would volunteer and then do whatever because I didn't have anything else to do, and then I would go to the gym. And then out Spawn, you've helped me build FTX. You're a big supporter of FTX, so I always appreciate that. We're always eager to help Crossroads in any way we can.
Well, it's
paying it forward.
It's been a lifesaver for me.
So you know my struggles that I've had in the last couple of years. You've always had your hand out, and then I think it clicked this last time out when we saw each other, 2 weeks ago? I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you since. He's like, and you were like, where'd you go? And I was like, I went back to rehab. I went to New Hampshire.
Right.
And, I've been sober. I picked up my ninth month yesterday. Tuesday, sorry.
And now you're going to be a daddy in another month?
And I'm a daddy in 60 days. And, if, God permit, you won't ever see me.
Thank you, HP.
Exactly. I'm grateful. But not only is it grateful, like I've always had this beautiful community having our backs. And it's each other. It's not only just the community, it's every single person.
Have you ever met anybody really bad in the program?
Never.
Never.
Not really.
The sincere ones.
You're right.
The
Real guys that are doing the deal, that are going through the steps, that have heartache, that have trouble, that have all that, they've always been there for me.
Right. And they always want to give back.
Any way possible. And they never even question, hey, you want to do this? Absolutely. Hey, I'm starting this. Absolutely.
I'm having lunch with my sponsor tomorrow, and he's been my sponsor for 37 years. How about that?
That's how it works, right?
So, and about 7 or 8 years ago, his sponsor died, and of course, after a certain period of time, excuse me, you get to be friendly.
Right.
I mean, a sponsor-sponsee relationship. So we were having lunch 7 or 8 years ago, and he said, well, now that Dick Baker's dead, you're going to be my sponsor. So we sponsor each other.
Well, yeah, but that's, I could completely
The ironic thing is that he's got 5 years more sobriety than I do, but he's younger than I am.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody's younger than I am. So.
I love this program, but I love the community. Without the community, I don't think the program would.
Well, the fellowship
is what makes the magic, right?
Absolutely.
Right, and that's where we have all come together, and we're really, really bright people, right?
Oh, well, wonderful, and we have a good time. We're not a dull lot.
We're definitely not. We have all the stories in Maine, but there's always great things, right? So I was taught, hang with the winners, always, right? You were like, nope, you're going to hang with these guys, you're going to hang with this. You have the all-male retreat every year. Right? You have these programs, which we haven't even gotten into. You have the LSIS program.
Well, and I per usual, I got off
sidetracked.
But I started that because when Huffy said that yes, he wanted to make sure that Crossroads of the door stayed open, he said to me, but I don't want you fellas to stop your own fundraiser.
Right.
So you keep trying to raise money.
Right.
And I got a copy of the local Southeast Florida foundations. Mm-hmm. And I sent a letter just out to a bunch of these foundations and said, here we are, this is what we do. We'd like to if you have some funding available for what we do, we'd love to talk to you. And a fella came down and said, I got your letter, and I'm interested, or we're interested, our foundation. And so he went through it. I gave him the tour, and then he was looking at our little brochure. And he said, okay, this living skills stuff for, relapse prevention and resume preparation and nutrition and blah, blah, blah. He said, this is very interesting. He said, basically, my background is I'm an elementary school teacher. He said, now all of this stuff would be good for the kids. Could you modify this and take it to the schools? And I said to him, well, I certainly would give it a shot, but if I do that, will you fund me? And he said, well, that's not my department, but you certainly are free to apply.
Right.
So I got together with I had been the president of the Delray Beach Rotary Club, and not my term, but right after that, we started taking women into Rotary. Mm-hmm. And one of the first gals who came in, her dad had been the president of his Rotary Club back in Illinois, so she knew all about Rotary, and she was the principal at J.C. Mitchell Elementary School. So I went to her And I said, Nancy, I've got an idea. I'd like to take some young people in recovery to the schools. And she said, well, I have to submit this to the school district,
Right.
because it's an outside program, and all outside program. So anyway, they looked at it and they said, okay, but you have to provide a script. You have to say what the young presenter is going to say. And I said, can't happen. Because I said, when I tell my story, it's from heart and soul at that moment. It's never the same twice.
Right.
So they said, okay, and then they said, when they finally gave the okay to do it, they said, you have to be there, and you have to guarantee that whoever the young presenter is has a minimum of 2 years clean and sober time. So they sent 3 gals down from the district, the school district office, to monitor and it was very successful. I mean, I could spend half an hour telling you the story, but anyway, that was how we got started, and of course, then I submitted this all to this foundation, and ironically, they never gave me any money. But it was successful enough, so we got other funding for it.
See, that's
And it was very successful. But then the foundation that owns the building started being the primary funder of it. And so several years ago, I was told, listen, because I wanted to spin it off, because LSIS could be in every school in the country.
right.
And Crossroads could be in every community in the country, but there are 175,000 school children just in the Palm Beach County school system.
Wow.
Now, I started in 5th grade because I said to Nancy, I said, my idea is that 5th graders are just preteen, so they've got an attention span of maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And she said, right, because any younger than that is too young.
Right.
So that's where we started in 5th grade. But so the 175,000 are all elementary, from kindergarten through.
Yeah.
But that's just one school district.
Wow.
So because I think that should be a stand on its own program.
Correct.
Because it really isn't part of the Crossroads mission.
No, it's not.
I mean, we don't have a lot of 5th graders.
No. Come in for
We don't have a lot of 12-year-olds
Right.
who are
Thank God.
who are cocaine
Right.
addicts,
That's right.
right? So anyway, I mean, if you see in your meeting, what's the youngest? 18 or 19 or 20?
Yeah. 18. 19.
But no 12-year-olds.
No.
So anyway, the foundation a couple of years ago, they took it over, so they're running it now.
Which is great, but you spawned that. So
Oh yeah, it was my idea.
Right.
But it was I wasn't being altruistic. I was trying to raise money for Crossroads.
Exactly. So, but that's one of the things that has come out of Crossroads, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So then we have the cookout. What's it called? With Louis Bassi,
The Taste of Recovery.
the Taste of Recovery, which I think is phenomenal.
And then we have the walk run now.
We have our fitness walk run every year.
And we have the
5K.
golf tournament every year.
The golf tournament, which is one of the most successful golf tournaments around.
Absolutely. The guys love that
Sold out every year.
every year. And then we're gonna do this because we were having the dinner and the ladies decided that having a luncheon would be more successful, so we're gonna
do
try
this.
this first year. This is our first attempt.
The gratitude luncheon.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
So that's gonna substitute hopefully for the dinner that we have every fall.
Correct.
But that's the other fundraiser.
So, but again, it's been your mission. It's been your purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's the reason why you get up.
No, I've been I've worn all the hats.
You've done them all.
I've been the president of the board. I've been general manager I've been chief cook and bottle washer, you name it. But I'm willing to give back because what have I got? I got my life back.
Beyond our wildest dreams.
And I don't care if nobody else appreciates the fact that I have my life back. I do.
No. Well, I know that a lot of people. You've affected my life in a positive way. Every time I see you, my heart jumps.
Well,
and it's true. I think
I love what I do, and I love helping people. I was helped.
if you don't love what you do, where's the passion?
We call it pass it on, right?
Right. That's what we do. It's our passion to move forward, to be bigger.
The only way we can keep it is by giving it away.
Absolutely. If you're not trying to help somebody or get better,
Right.
what are we doing?
Exactly.
So I think that's the heart of this conversation is, right? Is we get an opportunity to get better.
Right.
And once we get better, the only way to stay better
Is to help another.
is to help the next person.
Absolutely. And that's it. I love that. That's why we hold hands when we say the prayer at the end.
Yeah.
Because this person might have 20 years more than you do, and this might be a brand new person, first time at a meeting.
Right.
And they see the unity, and they want
They want to be a part
what
of.
we have.
Yeah. They want to be a part of. Like
Sure.
I was broken, and just I'm a big men's meeting guy. I love it.
Oh yeah.
I feel safe in it,
Sure.
and it helps. And I love seeing you guys come in because I feel completely new again. But I love feeling the energy in each room that I go to.
Sure. And it's a very, very successful meeting.
I think all meetings are successful, even where two of us are together having a conversation can be considered a meeting, talking about where we're heading or what troubles we're having during life. But that's it. It's somebody knowing that there's another human being just listening and helping.
And I love that expression about how long should I go to meetings? Well, go to meetings till you want to go to meetings.
Exactly.
Right?
Fake it till you make it. But that's in everything you do, right? If you don't feel comfortable doing something and you know it's good for you, do it. And it's discipline. We're going back to discipline. We're going back to commitment. We're going back to being resilient.
And you love to see the newcomers come in and then pick up the chips and
everybody celebrates it and
when they get the medallion and they say, I should have done this years ago. I love it. I'm a member and I'm all in.
I'm all in.
That's
And
wonderful.
that's
wonderful. That's what it's all about.
My favorite day of the month is anniversary.
So yeah.
Right?
Sure.
At Recovery Through Repetition, every meeting we try to say, hey, is there any big celebrating this year, this month? And anybody celebrating something, awesome. And every milestone, especially for an alcoholic like me, an alcoholic and a drug addict, it's like
I have my medallion in my pocket.
Show it to them, like, hey, it's insane. It's we all carry that with the badge of honor, right? But all we really have is 24 hours. Sometimes it's a minute, right? And we've gone through those days that, man, I've had some long minutes, but I've also had some really great days.
But listen, my dear friend, when you get old as I am, you understand one day at a time.
Right, and that's how it is, right? We're getting there one day at a time.
As my sponsor said a number of years ago, don't buy any green bananas.
Yeah, we don't know. Every day is a gift, right?
Right.
And in life, especially being in recovery, if I don't make it a huge part of my life isn't worth doing.
Well, and you're gonna have this baby, and he'll never have to see his father wasted.
And that's the goal, right? He doesn't have to go through it, right? I mean,
it's a remarkable program.
It is, and it hasn't been changed for how long now?
Well, since 1935.
So it's proven.
Well, of course, the big book, he didn't write the big book until 1939.
Right.
Okay, so what's that, 80 years?
80 years, it hasn't been changed.
Hasn't been, at least the first 164 pages of this thing.
Correct.
The stories
change in the book,
a little bit.
but the first 164 pages have been
Exactly
archived.
as first
And
written.
it's our manual, right? It's basically our code of conduct.
And then he put the 12 and 12 together in 1950, and that hasn't changed. So it's the old story, if it works, don't fix it, don't mess with it.
It's efficient, it's perfect, and it's just a communication of finding your higher power.
So it's, exactly. And they, when Bill Wilson was asked the question, well, how does it work, Bill? How does it work? And Bill Wilson said, it works very, very well. Thank you for asking.
It does, and it's together. It's
It's a we program.
It's a we program. You can't do it yourself because I know I tried,
Yeah.
right? And I got better. And then I tried to do it on my own again. It didn't work out too well for me.
Right. And
But
now
as soon as
you're-
I came back, I don't understand how a life without my community, I can't fathom it.
Right.
Like, I love seeing my friends,
Sure.
right? I love walking into Crossroads. I love supporting everything about recovery.
Well, you haven't missed an East Delray men's meeting for a long time.
No, I
mean-
can't. No, it's part of my lifestyle. right?
Absolutely.
It's part of my routine,
Sure.
and I know that I have to be there. And sometimes I don't want to go, right?
Right.
And then as soon as I go and I leave, I was like, I'm so happy I came. I needed this, right?
Well, then you see all your buddies.
It's like you're going home. Like when you would go home or go to school and then come back for vacation, you see all your high school buddies. That's exactly how it feels every Tuesday.
Sure.
And my home event Sundays, which is a whole other crowd and a whole different energy.
Right.
Right? But there's great people everywhere, right? And it's all it is. It's a beautiful thing. I love being a part of it. But I really appreciate you coming in today. And just
Well,
sharing
thank you
everything.
so much.
So let's talk about anyone following wants to help Crossroads. Is there a website they can go to?
Yes, yes. Just ask Mr. Google for the Crossroads Club in Delray Beach.
Mr. Google knows it all, guys. You've heard it here. Follow.
Mr. Google. I've never been able to stump Mr. Google yet.
So Mr. Google, the Crossroads Club in Delray Beach, Florida.
Right.
Tons of programs.
And it has all of the meeting list is there, so you get all the meetings.
Guys, if you need help, if you are struggling with anything, alcohol, drugs, they have a GA, gambling, overeaters anonymous.
Sure.
We have them all. Crossroads has a support group for you. It's open 7 days a week.
Right. 365 days, because my expression is that addiction never takes a holiday, so neither
Not
do
one.
we.
We don't
Neither
either.
do we.
So I know my disease definitely does not take a day off, but we are here to help.
Absolutely.
You know, the Crossroads Club is always there.
The doors are open.
The doors are open. If you're struggling,
Give us a call. Our number's on the website. We'll be
call.
happy to help.
They will help. If you need somebody to go, if you need a ride, if you need, just call first, and we will help.
We will help you.
Right.
And if you have a good friend who's got a problem, we'll
Come to a meeting.
yep,
Come to a meeting.
absolutely.
Guys, sometimes all you need is a meeting. Sometimes all you need is a friend. All you need is a straight conversation sometimes
Right.
that changes someone's life.
Sure.
And it's not only one. It could be a family's life, right?
Right. It's a family disease, so
And
the whole family is affected.
So families, community, everything. We have the support needed all around the world. But here in Delray Beach, it's the Crossroads Club. There's
1700 Lake Ida Road.
1700 Lake Ida Road. You've heard it there. Not DM me, Cifuentes.octavio.com. I'm always willing to help anyone that's suffering through alcoholism or drug addiction. I'll probably tell you I'll meet you at Crossroads because that's where I'm at. Right? Tony, it's always good to see you, man. I love you.
Thank you. God bless you. Lots of love.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for episode with Tony Allerton. Thanks a lot. Coming at you next week. Have a great day. I love you.